Today I'm going to start the 1,000 Years' War. I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Cup. The 1,000 Years' War is not a normal war. It is like nothing that has gone on before. It is a war of knowledge. It is a war that will set man free and allow all mankind to escape from its current, highly oppressive existence. In this video I'll explain what this war is about and why it needs to happen. I will tell you about the underlying principles of life that create an oppressive existence for all people. I will tell you about what is going to happen in the next 1,000 years, and I will tell you who Mr. Cup is. The 1,000 Years' War is a war of knowledge. It is a battle for truth that will enable people to reset the human compass. Today, people have too many unanswered questions. In an advanced state of the 21st century, something must be fundamentally wrong if we still don't have answers to simple questions. For example, who are we? If I asked you to define human beings, what would you say? My search reveals that there is no real definition of humans. At best, we are described as having greater cognitive ability than most other living organisms. And we can do things that most other animals cannot. For example, we can light fires. But beyond this, there is very little. We do not understand who are we, why we exist, what are we doing here on this planet. Additionally, we believe that we have answers to things that we do not have answers to. For example, gravity. We know how it behaves, but we cannot define it. We don't know what gravity is. In an article called The Trouble with Gravity, Solving the Mystery Beneath Our Feet, the author Richard Panek describes this conundrum. This is what he says. We don't know what gravity is. Say that to the average person and the answer you'll probably get is some version of, what are you talking about? Gravity is the force of attraction that makes things fall straight down. But say this to a physicist and the answer you'll get is, that's right, we don't know what gravity is. I know, because those are the two answers I've been getting for the past few years, ever since I figured out that nobody knows what gravity is, and that just about nobody knows that nobody knows what gravity is. The exception is physicists. They know that nobody knows what gravity is, because they know that they don't know what gravity is. The list of important unanswered questions continues with some real big ones. How can quantum mechanics and Einstein's relativity be unified? What is dark matter? Is there a heaven? Is there life after death? What is the answer to life, the universe and everything? Does God exist? Who is the devil? Is there an Armageddon? This list goes on and on and on. Markedly so, and as if to say that man's current knowledge is an indictment of man's current knowledge. Hence the 1,000 Years' War. The search for answers must now reach its conclusion, and the answers must now be forthcoming. We have to understand why we haven't found the answers thus far. Provide the answers to the big questions, and then allow humankind to assimilate this knowledge. A process that will take 1,000 years. A process that will reset the human compass. Michael Gerber, author of the brilliant and highly acclaimed book, The E-Myth Revisited, said, "Most people today are not getting what they want, not from their jobs, not from their families, not from their religion, not from their government, and most important, not from themselves. Something is missing in most of our lives. For me, too much is missing in all of our lives. However, what if I was to tell you that this is wholly true, and furthermore, that this is my fault? It is my responsibility that your lives are not what they should be and what you want them to be, in your dreams and in your ambitions. And yes, it is my responsibility, and hence it is my responsibility to change this and to fill all that is missing. Ultimately, it is my responsibility to fulfill your lives. Suffer now. It is time to fulfill all truth." At the top of the human tree, there are people who do not understand the people at the bottom. At the bottom of the human tree, there are people who do not understand the people at the top. The result is conflict, and more importantly, the fear that arises from the anticipation of conflict. In the main, this is perceived as opposed to real, but it results in a social sphere in which man is governed by policy. This policy is originated by the people at the top because they have the power and the influence to do so. But this policy does not work for the betterment of the people, because those who originate it do not understand those who it applies to, and those that it applies to do not understand why it is being applied. However, even if humankind made every conceivable effort to correct this, for the betterment of the general good, it could not. The real flaw in the equation goes much deeper. It lies at the heart of existence itself, at its core. First of all, we need to reset the human compass. All human knowledge will change. All science, religion, art and education will be revisited and challenged. This challenge will create a war. Change invariably does, if not in conflict, then in debate. But beware of debate. There can only ever be truth, and truth is not a scale, a spectrum or a variant. It is not a discussion, it is truth. Truth is singular. Additionally, as new knowledge arises, it provides answers for the good of mankind that are not for the good of mankind. Attrition will inevitably develop as a consequence, but more importantly, humankind has to face its greatest ever test of maturity. This battle will take people to a new level of emotional resilience, power and strength. The assimilation of this change for humankind will take 1,000 years. All that has gone before must now be dismantled and replaced by all that must now become, save for a little bit. In a two-dimensional world, you can only move forwards and backwards and side to side. You cannot move up and down. If humans lived in a two-dimensional existence and somebody landed in your world in a three-dimensional cup, that somebody would have an interesting take on your existence. So much so that they would be able to tell you a thing or two about your world that you didn't know before. They could give you a whole new perspective. Think of me as the pilot of the cup. I am Mr. Cup. Cup, cup and saucer, flying saucer. A 3D view of a 2D world. My name is Gregory Hayward. This is an extremely important name you will come to see. Right now I am Mr. Cup, and I am here to reset the human compass. I will show you that Einstein only got a bit of it right, that Hawking's thesis on the black hole paradox was correct even though the scientific community wholly rejected it. Unfortunately, apples do not fall from trees, and hence Newton was wrong. So too was Darwin with his theory of the descent of man in his book on the origin of species. There is a lot to do and a lot to state, and now it is time to get on with it. When it is done, you will have answers, and I promise you this will include the answer to life, the universe and everything. The true identity of God, the answer to is there life after death, and so much more. Everything that you need to know or want to know will now be revealed. The only language I have is the truth. There is much to say. Just keep watching Mr. Cup.